Okay, so I wasn't recording the first part, so I'm just gonna just kind of quickly walk through what I just did. So we're gonna do a Java project, which is gonna be to develop a calculator. It's gonna be very basic, but it's gonna pretty much do all the same functionality that like you would expect like a normal like four functioning calculator should be able to do. The GUI component you can always go back and add, but we'll for the purpose of this, we're gonna kind of create it using OOP um style sequences or whatever. I don't know. Um, that's just object-oriented programming style. So that way, like if you want to go back and add the GUI components, it shouldn't be too hard because the methods and things will be already developed. The only thing you have to really do is just synchronize it with you just have to call the methods. You have to add the labels and stuff, but right now we'll start with the basic. So I'm gonna delete that. How I got here was I actually just created a new project. If you do like there's like it's something like I guess at the start menu it lets you do it. But for right now, essentially it was how do I get to it? I think it was like uh I don't remember how I got to it. My bad. I'm sorry, y'all. But I think there's a shortcut that you can use. It's like Command Shift 3. Nope. Command Shift P. Command Shift P. Command Shift 3 screenshot. So use Command Shift P and that would do a do Java project, which I did, and I just called it calculator. So in your source folder here, this isn't VS Code, but this is similar idea and other IDEs because Java uses projects, a project management style. Like that's the file management way how they do it. So you have a source folder, your lib that's your dependencies, and then this is just the like the settings right here for Visual Studio Code, like the preferences and whatnot, and then a README, which we might go back and do, but that's not required. So the first one we're going to add, we're going to just start with just, we're going to write this in an OOP style, object-oriented programming style. So that means we're going to have a instance of whatever class, like we're going to try to boil this problem down into creating a class that is capable of doing all the functionality that we want it to do. And that way we can just instantiate class and it will take care of that. And then we'll call that class somewhere and then that'll take care of like everything. So let's start with that. So let's call let's create our first class we call calculator dot Java. And this will be a class. So you can say public class. And then whenever you write a class in Java, the class name has to be the same as the file name or vice versa. It should just be the same. And then we can come back to that, but that's the starter for that. And then we're going to have a main method or a driver class, driver.java, called, and it's going to automatically do it for us. And in here, we're just going to put a main method. So I'm going to type in main, and then Visual Studio Code will know to auto complete the rest. So, the first thing, I mean, it hasn't really been done yet, but the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna have, um, I guess this is kind of weird because I don't know if I would use object-oriented programming to do this, but I guess we can try because the way I was imagining doing this would be without the GUI components, we would just use the terminal, and so you could just pop in like whatever sort of commands and it would just like kind of read it. But I guess we can just do a more basic approach where maybe it's like, okay, the calculator, it would just call it. See, this is weird because I don't even know if you would even need a calculator class at this most basic level. So let's like skip the calculator class for right now. We'll come back to it. But the most basic level, very basic level, the four function calculator has four functions, right? So you have addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, right? These operations are pretty straightforward. In fact, they're already implemented uh, at the uh, some of the operations are implemented already at the compile level, but these are already implemented at the Java level, so we don't have to worry about like coding these up again. So we're not gonna like make this harder than it needs to be. So, but the thing we do need to get is we do need to get user input. So to do that, we're going to use a class called scanner. And scanner is just like a good class. I'm just call it scanner. I usually do SE or scan. We do SE, scan, or scanner. Um, and it goes new scanner. And with this one, you need to pass in a argument like where's the what is like the readable source. So that's an interface, I'm guessing. So like it has to be like information has to kind of come from it. That's why they tell you like these are like the various implementations. We're going to take the system in. That's pretty much just the computer input from a terminal. And it's gonna be red because we need to import this. So if you actually hover over like these one of these lines, you can click fix and maybe not that one. Choose this one. Do click flicks and then click import scanner and it'll import java.util.scanner. And then we're gonna just at the end, I'm just gonna say scanner.close. So that way we won't have any problems, but we should do this. And then now we're gonna do is we're gonna take any input. So with any four function calculator, we're just gonna have it just take in at the very basic level, it's gonna just take in two inputs and um what we're gonna do is it'd be like it'd be the first input, second input, and then or maybe you do first input, then operation, then second input, and then that way, you know. So this is kind of like how I would do it. I'm gonna tell you guys like this is the way how we code it. That's gonna be the interesting part about it. So we're gonna create two integers, or let me see. I guess there's a floating point part, but let's just focus on integers for right now. Or we can just go to float. Let's just skip the floating because you know it'll make our life a little easier. Let's go to float and we float, and I'm gonna call this first term uh maybe op1 or I don't know if I'll call it op1, like operand, or I can call it x, but I feel like one, I don't know. And that will equal scanner dot next float. And we can copy this line down. Oops. Let me just change the name to brand 2. So I'm already kind of like I want to make sure that like the stuff is readable. This is what I'm talking about. Like we have to make sure everything's readable. All is gonna build up. So because as we have more stuff, it's gonna get complicated. You can be like, what am I talking about? Like so operand is just the the numbers, right? So we gotta put if we're gonna take these inputs, we also need to put some output to let people know like what needs to go in. We're not gonna do this all the pretty. We're gonna do like the base, just the bare minimum right here. So it's just out. It'd be like first operand, and then probably do just a print so that way it appears on the same screen. And then same thing for second one, second operand. And I guess in the middle, we probably want to have a the operation. So system dot out operation. And so then this is the part where um we gotta figure that out. Do I guess in the most basic way we can do we can say like minus multiplication division. I was thinking they could use numbers, but I feel like it just makes more sense just for them to put it in. Um, see, I'm just doing stuff right now. That was in the right symbol. But there's a mod symbol here. We can go back and implement that. Do we need to escape that? I don't think so. I think that's only when you really have to escape. But so for this one, it's gonna be like uh addition is gonna be obviously plus, subtraction will be minus, and then like the hyphen. Multiplication will be x, lowercase x, or an asterisk character, and then division will be um the uh the backslash 4 divided by 2. Or is it 4 divided by 2? How do people usually see like 4 divided by, I think, yeah, it's usually 4 divided by 2. So people usually do that way. So to do this, then we'll say maybe character. So char operation equals scanner dot next. Now, important thing about the scanner class, it doesn't actually have a next char method, so you have to use next. Um, maybe do next dot char at and just type in 0. I'm using the autocomplete like a lot, but it makes your life so much easier. I recommend getting that. I don't know which one that is. That might be the Java extension or something, or maybe something else that's not live though. So this doesn't save before I don't save. Okay, well, doesn't really matter. So now we have like all the basic parts of like this calculator. We have the operation, we have the operands, and then we have the operations. Now we have to add in the logic, right, to perform this. So what we'll do is, see, this is where I'm like, I don't know if we want a calculator class right now, but because with the calculator class we could store this stuff as fields, but hmm, right now we're just gonna work just the driver class. But I'm like, I feel like a method might be better, right? I just feel like a method is probably just the best way to go about doing this. Now we can copy and paste the method. But first thing we have to do is do maybe call it we'll call this method. It'll be like maybe process or maybe call compute result. And then we'll pass in, we'll say this is maybe a float comes back. Compute result. That would be a name. That's in, yeah. Compute result, and it'll be operand 1, operand 2, and then operation. And then we got to create this method. So I like to kind of write these methods out before I actually like the I don't know what you call it, the method call, and then you can actually just hover over it and then it'll just create the method and you don't even have to worry about doing it. So I'll create a private static float, which is perfect. I mean, this is fine. Um, so what we'll do is from here, we don't need to throw any errors. We can delete that, and then we just say maybe right now, so it computes return 0. Um, and we'll perform this operation. So we have to do a few things. We have to perform the actual operation, and we also have to, before we do that, we actually have to translate the operation into a meaningful thing. We have to actually translate to make sure it's valid. So I guess we could have did that before, but right now let's just assume that the data is fine. So first thing first is we're going to take we're going to just switch. We're going to do a switch. This is the basic way to do this. So we're going to do a switch case. So say switch operation. So how do you do it? And then we say case. And inside the case statement will be like case um if it's a plus sign. Oh, what you would do is we'll say return operand 1 plus operand 2 case minus return uh return operand 1 minus operand 2 case okay, then we have this multiplication thing. This is where cases actually work really well, like switch statements work really well. Instead of actually having to do this like twice, we can only do it, we only really need to do it once. So we can say case multiplication, like x, or case x, and then do an empty case statement. So it's gonna fall through and then put down case asterisk. and then you put your implementation down. So what will happen is if this is true, it will fall down to this one. Um, so then return operand one times operand two, and then case uh division. So we're doing division. Okay. Return operand one divided by operand two. And the only thing that probably is if the computer doesn't really understand it, but there's like a case of like what if the operation isn't recognized? And so for that we call that case default, I think. Default. I have to double check this. I thought it was called case default or mm, what am I call it? Is it called space express? It might have gotten rid of it. I like to search this type of stuff up. Default case, switch job. I don't know why I would be thinking about that in terms of. Okay, it's just called default. My bad. So it's just called default. So default, you might just say, uh, throw. Let's just throw in an exception, maybe like legal argument exception. Uh, and then we could just pass him. You say like operation plus not recognized semicolon. And that's that. And we can delete this. We don't need to return anything because the expression will return stuff. So I'm guessing there's a better way to like write these switch statements now, but this is how I was taught to do them. It looks like they kind of do it. So it looks like kind of like a lambda expression. That's what it looks like. But we'll just leave it as is. It should be valid. So uh it's only yellow. So right now it's squiggly yellow. That's because we haven't really called this variable. So now we just say sys out, maybe like okay, equals uh um results. And then that's that. And then that's our scanner class, which is yellow for some reason. Why is yellow? I'll try. We can ignore that. Okay, so let's try this. Try writing this. Let's see what happens. Um, first operand. Let's just do 3 and 4 operations. Do 3 plus 4 plus 4 plus 7.0. Okay, that's fine. It's perfect actually. So let's correct something. Let's correct this part. I don't know if it should be this maybe instead, but looks fine right now. So let's try this again. 3, 4. Oh, that's not going to be work. So it's going to throw exception actually. I just did it wrong. So we put in 4 for operation. That's going to throw an argument. Yep. 4 not recognized. Maybe more insightful. Maybe say 4 is not recognized as like an operation. Um, so but that's kind of like the basic functionality like of a 4 function calculator. Now there's other parts we can add to this, right? Um, I'm not sure how much stuff I want to add to it in the driver class, but this is pretty much the basic functionality right here. So let's try maybe like 100 times 100. Yeah, was that is that 100 times 100? Is that correct? I think that's not correct. When did he correct? 100 times 100? Uh, That'd be 4 zeros, yeah. It's 10,000. Okay. I don't know, I was expecting to be larger. So that's pretty much that. But what if like we're trying to like match this? So we want to have like all this like functionality right here. Like there's a modulus operation right here. Uh, it's a plus negative thing right here. I mean that's not really like too crazy. You really got to implement that. That's like I feel like you start implementing stuff like that, that's gonna be kind of functional. But what if you wanted to do the modulus operation? So that'd be another operation we gotta add. So let's just pop that at the end. So modulus. Some of these operations are already implemented for you, so you don't really have to worry about anything. So pop another case here. Case modulus colon, or just return operand one. Mod operand two. And that's pretty much that. And so if I do it now, oops, I can say uh, I can say something maybe like let's 5 mod 2. That will be 1. Oh, maybe not that, but 5 mod 2, and I get 1.0. Okay, so now how do we kind of get to where like probably something like that where maybe this would be kind of closer aligned to like I want to just write 5 mod 2 into like the terminal, and I wanted that to like output. Well, to do that, we have to do some we have to write something called like a parser. So what a parser is, and this is kind of where like that whole calculator class kind of comes into use. So say we want to do something like that. Well, what we can do is we can take we can keep most of his logic here, but the thing is we're gonna have to kind of we're gonna have to delete this. We're gonna have to delete most of the stuff right here. So maybe like let's just say delete this and then say scanner uh let's say like expression. Let's call it expression. So let's be a string because anything that kind of gets entered, well, not anything gets entered, but it makes the most sense for it to be a string. It's gonna be easier to process that way. So call it string expression, and that just be equals scanner dot next, and that would just kind of process the entire line. And then what we'll have the calculator do is we'll say calculator dot process maybe expression. Now, the thing is, it's going to bring a red line because we don't actually have this implemented. So let's do that. So in the calculator class, what we're going to need to do is you're going to first create a method called expression or called process. So public, and it probably should output a result. It could be a string or an integer. It really doesn't matter. It has to be something printable though. So I'm going to say public float. Actually, I'm gonna move it just doubles because doubles take more. I'll just go back to floats. Just keep everything simple. Public float process. So this is gonna be an instance method. As you see here, calculator.process expression. We could do this as static, but if I'm gonna just do this as a I could do this as static method. Um, but let's just do it this way. So public float process is gonna call a bunch of different I can see somebody had to call a bunch of different other methods. And it's gonna take a string expression, and what it's gonna do is gonna first has to parse it. And so when it parses it, we need to parse this expression and to essentially those three components right here, an operation, an operand two, and then operand one, operand two, and an operation. So we have to um kind of get those three different strings. So that might be a list. So first thing we have to do is create a method called parse. So that's going to return a list. So maybe let's call it what do we call it? Maybe tokens, I guess. This is kind of like this is how, where you wouldn't have to do this if you're this is super like high level, but like this is what's actually cool because you're creating it's parsing. So talks And I'm actually gonna I forgot to do that. But we'll get to that. So talks is gonna be a list. I think this is Python, my bad. It's gonna be a list of let's make them strings. That'd be easier. We can just I guess it should be a list of strings. It doesn't really matter, I think. Actually, nothing about it. So it'll be a list of strings. Um, and that'll be from what do you call what I say what's it called again? Parse expression. And so this method, we have to create another instance method called parse. And I guess you probably don't even need to create a list. I guess well, we can do it that way. It really doesn't matter. But but it's just like because I'm like we can take advantage of the fact that this is a class. We can probably store it some later, but you might not want to store it. We can maybe store like the actual value. So public um string array. This is the return value. Return type, my bad. Parse takes in a string expression and returns back a list of strings. So right now, so it processes um send this one just return 0. So that way it's like actually doing what it needs to do. Not save methods. Okay, so we need to create an instance of this, my bad. I don't know I created it this way. Okay, well, wow, I wrote it that way. I don't know why I did it that way. It should be an instance. So we have to create an instance. So maybe call it calculator, calculator. Let's see. Calculator equals new calculator. And then from there, we just change this to calculator. This is the instance. Okay. And this is a float. I keep on thinking this is Python. My bad, guys. My bad. My bad. Ah, my bad. Don't worry about that. Okay. So, um, float result. Okay. So going back, everything is compiling now. So we got to parse this expression. I need to really be responsible. Let me charge my stuff so it does not die. Okay. Give me 1 second, everybody. So we're going to go through this list of expressions and we're going to kind of expect it to be, I'm going to put this right here. So I'm going to teach you guys about Java docs like really briefly. But with Java docs, I'm going to add this and that's going to make it a Java doc type comment. This can be really useful when it comes time to actually doing everything. So uh so this method expects will parse a string of a maybe a math expression, a sequence of tokens for later calculation. So this, and I'm gonna say like should be string of maybe it or float we operate. Float one char operation float up two, and it will return a list string tokens. Okay, that's gonna be helpful. It's just just trust the process. Just trust the process. We're gonna use this in the future. So, pretty much it's gonna be pretty straightforward. Not straightforward. People probably don't even know how to parse. Okay, so parsing is essentially taking data and just kind of we're just chunking it. We're just chunking it in meaningful portions, right? So if we have a string like again in the format of maybe like 12 plus 5 plus 17, like just imagine that like 12 plus 5, 12 plus 5. Just we're doing just two operands. What we're gonna do is we're actually just gonna just take this, we're gonna convert this. Oh, I have JetBrains on. So we're gonna turn this into a list. It's gonna be like 12. It's a string, plus is a string, and then 5 is a string. And then we can kind of it just makes our life a little bit easier because from there we can obviously say the first and last are operand one and two, and then the middle is the operand. So to do this, um, oh, let's see how would I do this? To do this, well, assuming that we're in the right format, right? We're gonna take, hmm, 'cause I think there is actually a method that does it for you. Let's see, expression dot try strings. Hmm. Maybe say expression dot. Hmm. See, let's look at this method class. Let's see which something that might be really helpful. What does strip do? Yeah, somebody puts in spaces that might. Um, we gotta ignore those spaces. Uh, yeah, we do. I gotta try something out right here real quick. How would you split? Aaron, you doing stuff you don't even know how to do it. I'm like, if you have that, that's gonna make it like a little bit harder. Java. Let's see here. So we have here constructors, and we have here. Maybe we can just do get index of like the operation or something. Hmm. And then you can just do like value. I think you can do like integer value of. I don't know if that works. Let's see. Or float. See something expression. Yeah. Okay, so you can just use value of, I think, but I want to see string class. I gotta be, I search stuff up. I don't know everything on this. So I'm not an Oracle. Java string value of work with spaces. I wonder, I guess what you could do is like you could say, maybe we could do is we could say index of, and it could be like an operation. Uh, hmm. There's no way we can split it. I guess you can just kind of loop through it, and then if you see it, we get the index of that, and then from there. You just split the string into two. There might be a better way to do it, but I feel like it's only for the purpose of this. I'm not trying to do anything too complicated. So like, let's just do that. So we're gonna loop through the string. We're gonna find the index of the operation, and then we'll split the string by that point, right? So basic string iteration for int I equals 0, I is less than expression dot length I plus plus, and wait, does it format? I need to turn on formatting. I'm sorry, guys. It's like a very I get very peculiar about this type of stuff. Very peculiar. Where is that? Like that would be in settings or something. I don't know. Let's see. For sure, it's. I don't code in Java like that. I guess I'm. That's probably why. Yeah. Yeah, the Java side. Stuff with the JDK. Oh. Format. Let's look for format save. I think prettier set up correctly. Boolean uses pretty. We use pretty for all languages except for JavaScript. Okay, let's do this. We probably have to add that to our format. But we have to do this type of stuff, y'all. We gotta do it. Wait, maybe it's just that line of code. That's so huge now. It's already been set then. I'm sorry, I gotta debug this. Okay, so I can't format. We need to format it for Java then. My bad. I guess you gotta use Red Hat. Cool, cool, cool. It works now. Yeah. Okay. So I have it set to Red Hat. So if y'all want to format your code, y'all gotta use Red Hat. Like I have Python Black for it works for like I think it works for like most languages, but it just doesn't work for Java for some reason. It was like bothering me for some reason. I was like, oh, I don't like that. Okay. So anyways, we're searching for so we're gonna search for the index operation. If I create int shit, if expression dot char at I, so that's like the given character. If it equals, because it's a primitive, we can use double equals. If it equals um plus hmm, some- what is it? Oh my bad. I'm using double equals. That's or the double quotes. Yep. Or oops. Or if it equals minus or equals location. Honestly, I think you know a better way to do this. Well, for this statement right here, if expression dot char at if is operation. And what this can do is just be private, because this doesn't need to be called outside this method. Private Boolean is operation and takes in a character. Uh, I don't think we can do that. False. So we do is switch up case plus. We take these cases. I don't know if I have them still here. Yep. Take these cases right here. Delete these return lines. Turn true, especially at the end. And then for default, turn false. And that way, this will return true. Right? So then that way that saves us, our code makes it look a little bit cleaner. So then if it is operation, we're gonna break after that. But the most important thing is we're gonna set operation index equal to I. And then because we're breaking, that's it. So then from there, we split the string at that point. So operand create a string called operand one string equals expression dot substring. Um, I think if you don't pass in a second argument, it goes from like the beginning to the end. If I pass in like one, I think it just goes from like no, it doesn't do that. Okay, so we finish from 0 to uh operation index. Uh, I don't believe it includes that last string. So if like you say, like in this case, hamburger from 4 to 8, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 to 8, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's only gonna be URG. Oh wait, actually, does it return that? 4. 4, nope. 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8 is R. So this is fine. And then we can copy this for operand 2. We just start from actually the top, and we actually don't even need to do the second argument. We can just say operation index plus 1. So we skip over the operand. And then we can say the char operand uh is equal to the string I say expression dot char at operation index, right? So that's kind of like what parsing does, right? So we have this string of like um whatever it is, string of like the tokens, right? So we could pass this into a list. So we can say maybe return operand one string operand two. I guess do you want to do, so this is the thing, do you want to have the talks, maybe it talks in the form of, so you didn't specify that. This way you gotta specify stuff in your list. Float one string on operation operand two. So say operand one Operation actually. This is be a we can a easy way to convert primitives into strings is just to add this. You can say um I don't think you can do dot to string, but you can say like you can maybe say like I think you can do like string. I think string takes in. You can do this. Maybe not. No, it only takes in characters, so you can't do that. But this is the easiest way to do it. I just do it this way, just adding that. Why is this yellow? It's never used. So we just have to use them. So maybe operation and then operand to string. We don't think we can return literals like this. You see, I thought we could do stuff like this. We can't do that. How can we do this? Okay. So to do this, I think we can, what you can do is you have to create a list. Well, I mean, this is helpful though to see, but maybe like string parse expression. Yeah, instantiating like arrays has always like been like one of my weak spots. Sorry, y'all. I'm at the do string array literals. So you could just do that. Okay, so let's just do that then. Cool, 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 cool. Okay, then we'll return parse expression, and then so this is our tokens parse expression. From there, all you have to do is just essentially like unpack it. So unpacking it would be like okay, like uh operation one, maybe mm, let's say integer int operand one. Actually, so this is where I'm gonna use the fact this is an object. We can use like take advantage of the class stuff. Make create private op one, uh, private flipped one, private flip two, and then a private char operation. And we can set up one equals string dot value of talks dot talks at 0. Hmm, I gotta remind myself what am I doing? Okay, so talks is a list of strings. Oh, we gotta say int. Um, so say float, I guess. No, float cannot be dereferenced. Or maybe say I think get this value of string. Yeah, so you say float. You can use this uppercase to be. Yeah, I think you can do that. Yeah. Of talks, and we're gonna get the first value in the list, and then we do the same thing for the other one. So operation. 2 will be uh the last one in the list, and then operation 3 be not even be a float. It would just be it's just a character. So you can just say you can say either character or it can be like, or you can honestly just dereference. It can be like talks um 1 dot char at 0, and now you can perform our operation, and then we call return perform compute maybe. Maybe this is a private method, I don't know. So in that case, we can honestly just take like the methods from here. We can just delete all of that. Is it static? Okay. So we gotta make this instance method. And I'm gonna just do a control F here, do a replace. And then now it should work. Necessary temporary link array from string. Hmm. Let's test that out. So what that should do pretty much is like if you just put in like an expression, like it should kind of just solve it. Like you should just print it out. Oh, look at that baby. Look at it. It worked. It worked perfectly. Y'all saw that? It worked perfectly. Okay, I'm gonna just run it again. I'm gonna just put in something that's like enter expression or something. I don't know. Let's say something like maybe 5 plus 5. Maybe I wanted to keep doing it. I'm gonna just do this is just one last check, one last thing I kind of wanna combine with it. Maybe where it's like uh Boolean uh and be like stop is false. So while not stop. And then be type. You can see this is kind of like how like a lot of programs like back in the this is the logic behind a lot of programs back in the days. Like you see type stop, it just makes it a little bit easier. So then with this is just basic logic. We just say like, okay, if s or so then you say um sc maybe maybe right here. See right stop to quit. So let's say right here, put it right here. So type stop to quit. So after you do the hmm, should it be separate? Should it be like type stop to quit like during the expression or because it can print out the new expression. We'll print out the I guess you can just do it like right here. Maybe if expression dot equals stop stop equals true. Oh, my bad. It's true. But then you have to expression type stop to quit. And when you press stop, once you type in stop, it will say, or maybe you'll press any other press it. And then that way you can just put it right here. And then yeah, like this out like now if I do it again, first time, yeah, if way you do it, or you can't just type in 12, you gotta type in hmm, sounds like I gotta go debug. Probably so. See here. I have to move work with this stuff. Where's my thing? Okay, so I'm gonna go inside the code. Why is expression like what the hell? I gotta okay, I gotta debug because I'm so confused what the hell happened. Wait, 12 plus 3. Why is expression just 12? Or maybe it's just taking the next. Okay, so you gotta change the next line. My bad. Reload. We need another scanner. Scanner. See here, it is working just fine. It is perfect right here. Um, okay, now if I try and that's an invalid input that causes it to break. May want to check. This is where like more checks kind of like kick in. So let's right here. Let's at this point. Hmm, see this if operand one string dot What if it's not a flip? I guess you can do is you only have to do it here. You can do a like this. Just do try rows. Saying resource. I don't know what the error is. This error is caused by error on tokens. Oh, I'm missing something. Shreds, yeah. It's like the case, like I think if you provide a invalid argument, maybe we won't fail it. Maybe we say like A is an invalid argument, and then we don't exit, but we just say like put a boolean in. Yeah, I guess it makes sense in this case the return a string. And this is how you code. That's how I code. Okay.